Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel for yet another Battlefront 2 video. In today's video we are making a tier list of all heroes and villains in Star Wars Battlefront 2. It will be a brief summarization for all of the characters, around 2 minutes or less per character. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and let's get straight into the list. Boba Fett is an all-up mediocre villain with only 2 abilities that are actually useful. His concussion rocket isn't that useful in situations, and I think DICE could have done a slight tweak to make it a little more likable, such as longer base blind effect or a blaster disabler add-on without having to use one of his star card slots. He's got a rocket barrage that isn't too strong but does a respectable amount of damage, even more with star cards equipped, and an ability to reveal enemies while for a limited amount of time having unlimited jetpack fuel. The part where Bubba lacks is his defense, and to go in a tiny bit more depth, he can't really do much in a sticky situation other than run away cowardly, but at the same time you can't really blame him. He is a very agile and smooth playing if you learn him correctly and can actually do decent damage, although he still isn't too crazy with his damage output, especially considering the fact that he is easily countered. Heroes such as Anakin and Luke can take him out with such finesse, all while being grounded with no blaster to shoot him. He shines picking off enemies from a distance, ultimately with his blaster, which is honestly one of the best blasters in the whole of Battlefront, having high damage with low drop off. I'm going to put him in C tier. Bossk is a decent villain who should not be underestimated. His abilities, Predator Instincts, Darksis Grenade, and Proximity Mines make a scary villain to come across, as his abilities are heavy on damage output. Bossk has the ability to regenerate all of his health, taking slightly longer for the generous feature. His blaster, the Ralby V10, is a balanced weapon which is good for both close and long range, and does considerably reasonable damage, especially if you throw down mines at their feet or a toxic gas, and especially if you charge it up, which will make it do even more damage as well as extend its firing range. He is fairly strong in both offense and defense, as his abilities allow him to set up traps for enemy advancements and move in on enemies throwing down mines at their feet or a toxic gas, and especially his micro grenade launcher. Above all, I'm going to put him in C tier. Vader is a tank that can thrive in 1v4 situations in HVV. Although his low stamina pool and stamina regen, he can certainly buy it back with his strong damaging lightsaber and abilities being bonus health and damage resistance, force choke and lightsaber threat, making him still very threatening at medium range. Even with no abilities, he still dominates on the battlefront while remaining to be an all-round balanced villain. His abilities are highly favourable in duels as well as Galactic Assault Supremacy because of these highly opportunity creating abilities. What I mean by this is that he can punish his enemy with a choke, throw his lightsaber when they are from afar, and grant himself temporary bonus health and damage reduction, making him a pain in the butt to face against. He hasn't got any outstanding particular heroes that can counter him best, which is scary for the opposition. He can take care of a whole way of enemies with his lightsaber, throw and choke, as well as his bonus health to give him an even bigger edge. You can play him defensive and offensive, as he does tremendously well in both. As I mentioned earlier, his only flaw is his stamina pool and stamina regen, but is so easily without a doubt a minor issue for him, as he has a large health pool to back him up. So for all this, I'm definitely going to put him in S tier. Emperor Palpatine has a very poor defense. The only thing you can really do with him to protect yourself is dodge backwards and jump away, but even so, the jump on the way down can leave him highly vulnerable. Although often good Palpatine mains often are very tricky to catch, when you master his movement it can be really difficult for the enemy to kill him. They dodge away from you to create that distance that the Emperor needs in order to use his lightning more greatly. He has decent range, which allows him to attack from afar, but if you are fighting someone with the blaster and they are melting you down, the best thing to do would be to get close to them so he can use his other abilities to stun them and finish them off. That way, they would just be spraying and praying because he would all be in their face. His lightning drains the opponent's stamina, yet is much slower than yours when you use it. It also deals a lot of damage, to which he can use his ultra satisfying ability, Chain Lightning, which has potential to one-shot your enemy while continuing to bounce off to other targets, So for this I'm going to put him in B tier. Kylo Ren is an all-up good pick for any situation. He has the ability to pull enemies towards him and then can freeze them to finish them off, which you can combo with his other ability, Frenzy. This allows him to create flaws in the enemy's stance, allowing his teammates to advance to the objective and wipe out the opposing side. He has average stamina and health, and his only downside is his slow swing speed, but isn't that bad if you master his movement. His lightsaber damage can be increased with star cards, as well as his stamina, making him stronger and more challenging to go up against. He is exceptional in duels with his abilities, which, like I said, can combo his basic lightsaber damage and overall stamina and health stats, making him an all-around good villain, so I'm going to put him in A tier. Maul is a very agile yet aggressive villain. He can flank very well and get himself out of harsh situations. He can combo his abilities, being a choke throw, saber throw, and dash attack. These abilities allow him to benefit greatly when advancing himself and his allies to the objective, pushing back enemy lines with his frightening presence. Maul isn't too crazy OP and is actually really balanced with fair damage output, base health, stamina pool, and health regen. He can spread insane amounts of damage across a large group of enemy soldiers, being such a fast-paced villain. He does exceptionally well in duels, being so fast and agile, and his aggressive playstyle, so I'm going to put him in A tier. Iden has got an extremely fast fire rate with her gun, the TL50, which also has an alternative fire, being a charged up iron explosion which penetrates enemy lightsabers and deals a lot of damage in a small to medium radius. She has got her ability Stun Droid, which stuns enemies within the area for a short amount of time, leaving them greatly vulnerable to your fast firing weapon. She can use this ability in 1v1s against a lightsaber hero and melt her opponent's health bar. With unpredictable and fast movement, you can even win in the desperate situations. The great thing about Iden is that she does well in most playstyles, whether it be offensive or defensive. As long as you play your cards right, you should be good. So I'm going to put her in C tier. Captain Phasma is a good villain to play as to hold an objective with your teammates, as she has a first order sentry droid as one of her abilities, assisting you on holding down an area, and also promotes camping. When you are in the open with your droid or by yourself, this is where she becomes a setting dark and typically an easy kill for the enemy team. Although this is good for holding objectives, this is where Phasma lacks. She is not that good when played offensively, and this is because of her mediocre blaster and her staff strikes, which is ultimately the reason she isn't meant to be played in an offensive manner. She has one ability where she temporarily buffs herself with bonus health and damage reduction, but that doesn't make up for the areas she lacks on. She's the best when she's with her teammates for backup support and needs to play defensively, slightly limiting her. Without a droid assisting her on the Battlefront, she would be pretty vulnerable, so for this I'm putting her in D tier. Grievous is good at creating opportunity for his teammates to push against enemy lines. He has his Claw Rush ability, which one-shots enemy troopers and knocks them to the ground for your team to finish off and advance to the objective. He is an above decent health pool with a good health regen, even more with star cards. Although Grievous has a very low stamina pool, which can often get Grievous slayers in bad situations, as well as his low swing speed. If you learn how to manage his stamina and control it, then it shouldn't be much of a problem for you. Certain star cards add bonus damage to his swings, but has a cost of more stamina drain. But like I said, if you learn how to control it, then you should be alright. His abilities have fast recharge speeds, allowing him to be on the offensive side more often than other villains. As long as you maximize his placement and movement, you'll be destroying the enemy, so I'm going to put him in B tier. Count Dooku thrives in HVV, as well as in Galactic Assault and Supremacy, but mainly HVV due to his abilities that were designed to melt down enemy heroes. He has an ability to make you take more damage, lightning stun you, and his most beneficial ability being Duelist. With the activation upon this ability, he does bonus damage with his lightsaber, making him one-shot troopers, and his incredibly fast swing speed. These aspects make him incredibly good in duels, and is actually one of the best dueling characters in the game. He is one of the largest health regions in the game, with a star card that increases it on top of his already great region. He doesn't benefit as much as he does in HVV, in Galactic Assault and Supremacy, where you tend to have a lot more ranged attackers than in HVV. Dooku kills his enemies swiftly and with his agility, as he has such great stamina statistics, making him a great threat for his opponent, so I'm going to put him in B tier. BB-9E is kind of the same deal with BB-8, decent when playing game modes like Galactic Assault and Supremacy, but lacks an HEV due to his low damage output. He is also a very good team player, like when he uses his ability called Back to Support, where he passively regenerates the health of his close by allies. That and the smoke screen, in which BB-9E deploys a smoke screen, obstructing enemy vision when revealing their positions at the same time. If they were to go up against heroes such as Luke or Yoda or anyone really, he would struggle. BB-8 actually does more damage than him and has slightly better abilities, so because of this I'm going to put him in detail. Luke is never a bad pick on any map you play on. His health and stamina regen speed is really fast. He is a very mobile hero with a fast swing speed and decent damage output. His abilities are swift and designed to take out large groups of enemies with his repulse, push and dash attack, which you can also put into a combo. His stamina pool is exceptionally good with an average health pool. He is terrific in creating opportunities for your teammates to push up and advance to the objective. He is great offense and defense, typically played in an aggressive manner, but can handle it with his high mobility and fast attacks. He is an above average when dueling an enemy lightsaber with all of his knockdown abilities, so with that being said, I'm going to put him in S tier. Leia used to be very ordinary in terms of her abilities, and there's nothing unique about it, apart from the fact that she can still, from launch, one-shot enemy troopers with her ult fire with her blaster. She has got a buff to her abilities a while back, which replaced her flash grenade with a far better choice of thermal detonators, being able to throw 3 down with a low cooldown speed. Her E11 has the potential to melt down enemy troopers with its high fire rate and decent damage output, and her squad shield allows passive health regen for her and her team, so for that I'm putting her in B tier. Han is great in both defense and offense. If you land your shots with the DL-44, you will melt the enemy soldiers and villains, as he has one of the best blasters in the game. His abilities make him stronger than your average blaster hero in a 1v1 situation. He even has the option to do 3 dodges before going on cooldown, and this can be really effective when versing enemy lightsabered villains if you know when to use it. This being said, Han's abilities grant him the opportunity to create pathways for your allies by advancing onto enemy lines using his Dead Knight charge, which has a large explosion radius to clear out enemies with ease, and his sharpshooter ability, which allows his gun to be fired more frequently, temporarily. So that said, I'm going to put him in B tier. Chewbacca is a good close range attacker compared to attacking at long range, as his bowcaster doesn't do that much damage from afar, often leaving him vulnerable, which is a shame, really, because Chewie has been through a lot in terms of nerfs and buffs. His abilities promote fighting close range, as they are a shock grenade, a ground slam, and a temporary damage and firing rate buff to his blaster, but doesn't improve range. He has a solid base health, but still doesn't help him enough when he's by himself at mid to long range, and is more beneficial when he has backup ally soldiers at his side. Although I have seen really good Chewbacca mains melt enemy lightsaber heroes, including high-level Vaders. So I think I'm going to put him in C tier. Lando is a medium to close range hero with decent abilities. He can stun enemies and deplete their health in a matter of seconds with his fast firing rate, throw a smoke grenade, and his best ability, Sharp Shot, an ability that allows him to lock onto up to 6 targets from far away, and with 1 bullet each take them all down at once. With Lando, he is safe to play offensive and offensive. It's up to you, but if you stick together with your teammates, you can have that backup that he desperately needs sometimes when he is in a situation where his abilities are on cooldown and in close range to an advancing enemy team. Lando isn't the strongest hero, but he isn't the weakest, but he's a pretty balanced guy, so I'm going to put him in C tier. Rey is a strong lightsaber hero with abilities designed to create flaws in the enemy team's defenses. She has Mind Trick, which inverts the enemy's controls temporarily, allowing an opportunity for her teammates to help finish the job and push up. And Dash Strike, Rey charges at the enemies, and to those in her path will get knocked over and sometimes one-shotted. She has a team ability called Insight, where it reveals enemies to her and her teammates in a certain radius. It also hides Rey from the enemy radar, which allows her to coordinate flanking attacks and ambushes against enemy units. When you learn to master her movement, you can use her abilities more efficiently, especially in duels. She is one of the best heroes you can pick for duels because of her attacks, as they are fast and damaging, and can even delete a good Vader's helper when played smart and knowing when to use her ability, so I'm going to put her in A tier. Finn is a team player due to his supporting role on his team. His ability, Big Deal, grants himself and nearby allies extra health, damage reduction, weapon cooldown, and faster ability recharge. As well as being outstanding in defense, he's also really good playing offense. His abilities, Undercover Team, which allows him to go undetected on the radar, which gives him the perfect opportunity to flank the enemy. His other ability, Deadeye, is an ability which pretty much gives him legal aimbot. This makes him able to clear swarms of enemies, giving him an opportunity for your team to advance to the objective. With certain star cards affecting his Deadeye ability, he's terrifying for the enemy to go up against, so I'm going to put him in C tier. Obi-Wan Kenobi has a really strong defense with one of the best stamina pools in the game, as well as one of the best health regions in the game, even more with star cards. He is a uniquely designed hero built as a survivalist. He is terrific at mowing down infantry with his unique set of abilities, All-Out Push, Restrictive Mind Trick, and Defensive Rush, which he can one-shot troopers. He has average damage output, but he makes up for it with his defensive potential. His abilities allow him to be a reliable source of support for his team, granting a hard-to-penetrate line of defense for his team. Being able to block so much damage and his impeccable health regen, I'm going to put him in A tier. Anakin currently is surprisingly balanced when you compare him from launch. He had OP star cards with little to no downside, but now they have been altered to make it a little more fair for the opposing team with a few fair adjustments. He is still a tank with one of the highest health pools for both heroes and villains in the game. He can combo his abilities and apply star cards to one-shot troopers. He also has a reasonable stamina pool and heavy lightsaber damage. He can manage himself in large groups of enemies, making him a strong offensive character, but still can be used in a defensive manner. He still has a few bugs affecting his abilities, such as Heroic Might, Retribution, where sometimes it doesn't register properly, or when you aren't able to cancel it, leaving him exposed sometimes, costing him his life. Although he still has bugs, he is still a good duelist. He is average, and sometimes I don't understand when people in other tier lists put him in the high tiers without going over his abilities or combat skills, which is disappointing. He is very average in 1v1 lightsaber combat and isn't actually the best choice for dueling, although he is very easy to learn for new players, so for this I'll put him in A tier. BB-8 is a really good team player. His abilities, resistance, backing, scrambles enemy raiders while revealing hostiles to himself and his allies. If he's being attacked, revealed enemies will take increased damage, so this obviously will create opportunity for his team to wipe out the enemy troopers. He benefits most when sticking together with his allies when compared to being on his own. Although he is a decent hero to play in game modes such as Galactic Assault and Supremacy, he does not have the same impact when versing 4-on-4 in HVV, including lightsaber villains, as he cannot keep up with the villains such as Vader, Maul, Kylo, etc. Overall, he is a good team player, but otherwise from that, he isn't the most impactful, so for this I'm putting him in C tier. Yoda is a good hero to pick when versing infantry compared to other heroes. His small hitbox makes it more challenging for the enemy to hit you, especially with your agility and swift lightsaber swings. When playing as Yoda in HVV, it is very different how you would play in game modes such as Galactic Assault and Supremacy, because hitbox doesn't really matter when versing other saber heroes. Another factor you would have to take in is his slow swing speed, which can leave him vulnerable to counter attacks and easy parries for the enemy saber heroes. You would have to learn how to play him and get over his learning curve that he has, but overall he is a decent hero, so I'm going to put him in C tier. Alright guys, thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, leave a like, and I'll see you in the next one.